Wind and solar's day of reckoning. Who's going to pay? Next on the Energy Newsbeat Daily Standup.
Wind and solar's day of reckoning is rapidly approaching, but oil and gas are booming, making the net zero energy transition impossible. This is an amazing story on the Energy Newsbeat Substack, Michael, and this has got a lot of Stu's rant in it. I had so much fun putting this together. What is the true cost of net zero? I started scratching my head and went, hey, wait a minute. How much is wind and solar added to the global grids, but what it cost? Will countries survive the net zero energy regulations and subsequent fiscal collapse? How will the new trading blocks respond? And as oil demand slowed down because of trillions of dollars, and then Michael, for our podcast listeners, I don't know where I found this, but you've got President Trump leaning over a golf grid and he's hitting a button and you see all these windmills blowing up. Boom. It was really a lot of fun. But let's go through some of the key things in here. Solar led with around 600 gigawatts of new capacity added globally in 2024, while wind contributed 125 gigawatts. Battery storage, crucial for grid integration, which is another cost layer for consumers disguised as retro, 55.7 gigawatts in 2023. The International IEA reported global energy investment in 2023 at $2.7 trillion, with a significant portion directed to renewables and electrical infrastructure. Now, Michael, speaking of the IEA, our great Secretary Chris Wright said today their withdrawal from the IEA is now on the table if they don't mend their ways. And I had fun putting that article out as well, too. We're going to talk about that in a sec. But
Yeah, go ahead.
What I found was, Michael, there is no land reclamation anywhere in the United States. And when I started going, well, wait a minute, if there's no land reclamation, what's going on? I even found them in Australia. It is a real problem. And I put a video in here of rotting windmill turbines at this place, Livermore, California, is the now Patterson Pass Wind Project in 1985. And it generated 2.5 megawatts of power and was in operation until 2014. And it's cheaper to let them rot on the hill and become a real ESG problem. But I go into the article even further, Michael, and you take a look at this by Sandstone Asset Management in the graph. Oil demand is still increasing. Natural gas is still increasing. LNG is still increasing. And you got some stuff. The net zero push has delivered only incremental grid decarbonization, but exorbitant costs.
It's unbelievable. I'm going to read, you've got this section called The Verdict. I'm going to read that right now. The net zero push has delivered incremental grid decarbonization, but at exorbitant costs. Great point. While also failing to curb the fossil fuel boom, renewables have grown rapidly. Wind and solar generation are up 8-fold and 3-fold since 2015, but they've barely dented overall energy demand, which remains at about 80% fossil fuel, with producers expanding unchecked and demand forecasts rising. The transition appears not just challenging, but impossible under current trajectories. You go on to note that there's $79 billion of outstanding liabilities just from wind farms. Holy smokes. A lot of great information under there. We need to get Turley's Law in the books. I need that in Webster's dictionary.
I left it out of there, out of this article intentionally, just because I didn't want to brag too much. But I do have a prediction in the article that the EU, Canada, and the UK will continue to their current path to net zero and fiscal collapse through deindustrialization. And the new trading blocks are in there as well, too. So I had an absolute blast ranting on this one. I feel better about myself. Don't look any better, but I feel better. But let's go to the next story. Energy Chris Wright says withdrawal from the IEA is now on the table. I love Secretary Chris Wright. He is one cool cat. The United States contributes, Michael, are you ready? $5.8 million annually to the IEA's regular budget as reported for 2024, which accounts for 18% of the agency's total funding. And I think Secretary Wright, let me not mince words here. We will do one of two things. We will reform the way the IEA operates, or we will withdraw. The U.S. Secretary Chris Wright told Bloomberg in an interview, hats off to him. My strong preference is to reform it. Secretary Wright is on the right track. You sit back and take a look at what the IEA has done, and they have absolutely been politicized to promote wind and solar, which we just covered have not benefited humanity and are now a real problem for landowners. I would not want to have all this. And then you take a look at the rotting solar panels that are being laid around the world. And Michael, do you know what we do with most of our damaged solar panels?
No.
We ship them to other countries to put them in landfills or dump them in the ocean.
Absolutely. Makes complete sense.
It's like this is not helping the environment.
Yeah. Well, and I think Secretary Wright is completely correct on getting out of the IEA. The IEA has become a political organization above all else. It's giving information, but it's giving it with a point of view. It's giving it with the idea of, oh, we need to transition. I spent a lot of time digging through the IEA stuff back when I was in grad school working on my thesis, okay? And I'm not trying to I got a master's, but my point is I spent a lot of time digging into their stuff. And what you find is that whenever there's a assumption that you need to make, the assumption is always towards clean energy.
Right.
Always. Even when the assumption towards natural gas or LNG is better. It's unbelievable. So completely in favor with this. Also recommend checking out, you've interviewed Chris Wright in Doomberg. We also have Doomberg coming up on Friday. So that's going to be a good one.
Oh, it is. Love Doomberg. Doomberg and Chris Wright, my two favorite energy guys. Let's go to AI in Pennsylvania is on the move. Doug Sheridan, one of my go-to guys on LinkedIn, brings up some great questions. Let's go through this. The Wall Street Journal writes some of the world's biggest companies have pledged tens of billions of dollars to accelerate the development of AI in Pennsylvania. Michael, what's up in Pennsylvania?
Well, it's a lot of natural gas.
A lot of natural gas, a lot of Marcellus, and a lot of coal. Google said that it would put $25 billion into data centers needed to train AI models relative to infrastructure, and Blackstone promised another $25 billion. AI startup CoreWeave announced another $6 billion. Amazon committed another $20 billion. And Michael, you know what's missing from all of this?
What?
Net zero pledges.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable that, we need all this data center stuff, and now no one worries about net zero when it comes to data centers. Everyone's just worried about making sure their ChatGPT can go through.
Oh yeah, and just making sure you're. I'll tell you, there's some AI videos are absolutely hilarious. This one cat on X is putting out a Sasquatch and Yeti videos that are absolutely hysterical. Let's go to the next story though. Voltage, inertia, and the Iberian blackout, part 1, the theory. This is absolutely a fantastic article from Catherine Porter over at Watt Logic. I reached out to her to interview her in about 2 weeks on this. And this is very important to understand grid logic on this and what could happen in Spain. Remember, there were 50 million people that went without power in Spain. And this is all based off of net zero policies and the reactive power in here. I don't want to spend much of our time on this right now, but she goes in and setting up voltage, current, and impedance, the way that speed and current and voltage and alternatives is linked to supply and demand. The actual amount of the current and voltage is purely a resistive circuit. She goes into specifics on why you've got to have certain types of power and how if you put one wind farm on the grid, that's one almost too many.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me, to be honest with you. And I actually love the reactive. You have this image in the article that's the reactive power of beer analogy, which I think is hilarious, which basically goes to show that there's only so much active power available, and there's a part of it that's actually not even available to be used.
Yeah, clean power and dirty power. And you sit back and go,
and it's different than they are apparent.
So the key thing that this is bringing up is I've got several articles I'm working on, and this is about microgrids and those that will have their own power supplies, their own generators, and going out and controlling your own destiny, because we are going to see in the next 2 years a major rebalancing of grid control in the United States.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and there's just so much great info in this article. Definitely excited to get Catherine Porter on the podcast. But let's jump over and quickly touch on some finance stuff, guys. Before we do that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. As always, thank you for checking us out here on the world's greatest website, energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all your energy and oil and gas news. Go ahead and hit the links in the description below for all links to the timestamps, links to the articles. Check us out, theenergynewsbeat.substack.com, the best place to stay up to speed with all our custom analysis. We're writing new articles every single day, which are bespoke and custom. The only place you can find them is the Energy Newsbeat Substack, delivered to your inbox every single day. Also, guys, as Stu has pointed out, shout out to friends of the show, Reese Energy Consulting. We love them over there, guys. If you are in the midstream space or the upstream space and you need help on anything surrounding the midstream space, I highly recommend you check out Reese Energy Consulting. Their clients range from 2 guys in a garage all the way up to the largest publicly traded companies. So if you're wondering if they are able to work with you, the answer is yes, ReeseEnergyConsulting.com. And finally, guys, investingoil.energynewsbeat.com. If you are curious about what it takes to get into the investment when it comes to the oil and gas business, whether you're looking for a tax deduction, whether you're looking for a little bit of monthly dividends, check out investingoil.energynewsbeat.com. It's our portfolio survey. We answer a bunch of questions, tells us whether or not if you're a good fit or not, and we then provide a bunch of information on how you can get going and things to consider in your oil and gas investing journey. That's investingoil.energynewsbeat.com. Let's jump over, Stu. Let's look at some top-line indices. Market's pretty flat today. S&P up about 0.3 of a percentage point. NASDAQ basically flat. 2 and 10-year yields tumbled pretty hard. 2-year yields down 1.5 percentage points. 10-year yields down 0.8 of a percentage point, mainly off the fact that Jerome Powell is considered to be on the chopping block. And I would say this movement has more to do with the fact that markets are just uncertain about what might happen relative to the Fed chair. But it'll be fascinating to see what happens there. A dollar index down about 0.2 of a percentage point. Bitcoin up about a full percentage point. $118,000, basically about $119,000. Crude oil flat, 66.55 after dropping about $1 earlier in the trading session, regained most of those losses there. Brent down to 68.59. Natural gas actually up about 1.3 percentage points, $3.56. XOP, E&P securities contract down 1.2 percentage points. OIH, which is Oilfield Services, down 1.16 percentage points. Not much in the news today, Stu, other than the fact that the EIA Crude Oil Inventories came out. They showed a really interesting stats, real interesting all around. Crude inventories fell by about 3.9 million barrels. We did see distillate stockpiles, which includes diesel and heating oil, rose by 4.2 million barrels. And then we did see gasoline stocks rise by about 3.1 million barrels. Part of that is investors were expecting a draw of about 1 million barrels when it comes to gasoline stocks. So that's part of what's driving prices both north and south today. And in other news, people are still trying to attempt to price in what these U.S. tariffs might be if Russia doesn't end up finishing the war. And I think the problem is Trump is kind of unpredictable right now. He's kind of in a mood when it comes to this stuff. And so who knows if he decides to take it out on Russia when it comes to imposing tariffs, which if those bleed over into China will cause an interesting shift in the dynamics of the oil market. So it's going to be very fascinating to watch out. I think, on the oil and gas front, I think people are settling back into what they were pre-Iran war, which was we're going to struggle to find things to drill. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. So we're going to keep everybody up to speed there. Stu, what are we missing today? Anything we need to chat about before we let everybody go?
Oh, no, just looking forward to visiting with Nano Nuclear Energy. And we've got some great ones. We got Doomberg coming out on Friday. That's an exciting one with David Blackman and Mike Umbro. That was a heck of a podcast. I really enjoyed that one.
Love a good golf foursome.
I'd never play golf with a green chicken. That would be pretty cool.
You might actually have a chance.
I
with
doubt
the
it.
Short arms.
No, he could swing a beak and do better than I could.
Absolutely. Well, with that, guys, we're going to let you get out of here, get back to work, start your Wednesday. We appreciate you guys checking us out here on the world's greatest podcast. For Stuart, Turley, and Michael Tanner, we'll see you tomorrow, folks.